Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Lunch and Learn today. I think we got a great topic for today. Listen, it wouldn't be the same if you weren't here, so thank you so much for making the time. Hopefully, you got your favorite on-the-go lunch with you as you kick back and enjoy a little bite-sized learning for dessert. Maybe a nice juicy double patty, half-pound bacon cheeseburger would be good. Or, I don't know, if you're one of those healthy role models out there, maybe something like a lean protein with some fruit and veggies on the side. That sounds a little more safe. Hey, if this is your first time to sit in on one of these sessions, then you've probably already figured out that you can hear me, but I can't hear you. I much prefer a workshop environment where we get to exchange dialogue with one another. But unfortunately, these webinars don't lend themselves to that type of experience. So if you do have any questions during the webinar, there's a couple of options. First, on your GoToMeeting toolbar, there's a chat feature. So please feel free to send me questions using that chat feature at any time during the webinar. You can also email questions to me, or heck, just give me a call. At any rate, I want to make sure that this is a good investment of your time and that you get everything out of it that you can. So let me know if you need any additional information when we're done. I think this is going to be good stuff today, and it's one of those that I've been hoping to do for quite a while. I've been around Baldrige for a long time, either as a practitioner or an examiner. I'm at that age where I can start telling some of those back in my day stories. That's how you know you've been around for a while. I know that the criteria and the award process can be a little mysterious at times. But today I want to hopefully clear up some of that mystery and give you a picture that I think will be useful to you as you continue on your journey, whether that's as a practitioner, an award applicant, or an examiner. If you're a Baldrige purist, then you might be inclined to leave this session today and to tell me that I missed a whole lot of stuff. And that might be true. There's a tremendous amount of depth to the performance excellence framework. But I think that depth and that complexity sometimes gets in the way of grasping the simplicity of the framework. And it's that simplicity that is often the strongest element in providing value to an organization, or in helping an award applicant tell their story in the most effective way, and even helping an examiner provide meaningful feedback to an applicant organization. What I'm going to describe today is going to look very simple, and it is, but what is simple isn't always easy. In fact, there's nothing more difficult than to distill down the complex to its simplest elements. That's sometimes called genius. Now, let's be clear, I'm not calling myself a genius, but my hope is that you become a genius when it comes to the principles of performance excellence. I think the ability to see the framework in its simplest form will help you get there. So let's get started. In any organization, there's leadership of some kind. John Maxwell, an author and expert on the topic of leadership, says that leadership is the lid on an organization. Everything rises and falls on the strength or the effectiveness of leadership. Our job as leaders is to, well, lead. We lead our folks and our organizations in a direction with a destination in mind. Remember those two words, direction and destination. That's what leaders do. If you're not leading folks in a direction with a destination in mind, then you're not really a leader. You might be a manager or a supervisor, which is okay because we need those at times in an organization, but you're not a leader. Yeah, I know, Carrie, what the heck do you know about anything? Jerk. Now, great organizations don't just have a mission, they're on a mission. They know their purpose, they know why they exist, and they know what they're all about. They have a destination in mind, or a future vision. That's where they're headed, and that's where they expect to arrive someday. So let me stop right here and say that I'm not talking necessarily about the types of mission and vision statements that most organizations come up with. A lot of those tend to be more marketing statements than anything. Something you can put on your website, share with your customers, or hang up on the walls at the office. I think it's a good idea to articulate and communicate your mission and your vision. In fact, that's what great leaders do in a variety of ways. But they need to be things that are real, that can be operationalized, that mean something to those doing the work of your organization every day. A good way to know that you have clarity about your mission and vision is that you can point to a result that is an indicator of how well you're living out your mission and moving toward your vision. I'd call this your primary result, or for the purposes of this session, your bottom line. This is the result that you're ultimately trying to achieve. It's different for different organizations. If you're a for-profit entity, then your bottom line might be revenue or stock price or net income. If you're a healthcare organization, your bottom line might have something to do with patient healing or community health. If you're in education, then your bottom line might be related to student learning or success of your student after they graduate. But all organizations, whether they realize it or not, have some type of bottom line result that they're after that sums up their mission and vision. Author and coach Tommy Newberry says that the number one reason that organizations don't get good results is because they don't define the results they're after. I think that's absolutely true, and being aware of the bottom line results that you're after is critical, because as we'll see, your entire organization will ultimately be designed and managed to achieve this result. Now, we all know that an organization doesn't produce any results unless it happens through customers. Every organization has customers, whether they're aware of that fact or not. And let's face it, some are not. If your organization doesn't have customers, then there is no reason for your organization to exist. That's just one of those silly principles that always seems to be true. You may call customers something else. You may call them patients or students or taxpayers, depending on the industry that you're in. But I'll use the term customers generically for all of those in this session. It's so important to know who is your customer, because value is created by satisfying that customer. But not everyone is your customer. In fact, to consider everyone as your customer is actually detrimental to your organization, causing tremendous amounts of waste and frustration for those who really should be your customers, and for everyone else associated with your organization. The true essence of strategy is about making choices. Michael Porter is considered to be one of the thought leaders on competitive strategy. And if you're a Porter disciple, then you know that strategy is about choosing what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. In the book, The Discipline of Market Leaders, the authors make the case that most successful organizations, the market leaders, are those who relentlessly drive themselves to deliver extraordinary levels of distinctive value to carefully selected customer groups. That's exactly what we're talking about here. Carefully selected customer groups that we deliver extraordinary levels of distinctive value to. So we choose our target market and our strategic position, which is no more than a decision of how we will be unique given other alternatives for our target market, which leads us to the types of customers that we choose to engage with. We engage them with the products and services that we offer, and we engage them with our relationship building activities. Once again, all organizations do this, even if you think you're not in the relationship business. We're constantly evaluating our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats associated with our target market and our strategic position. A SWOT analysis isn't generic in nature. It's always focused on our target market and our strategic position. Our customers tell us how well we're doing in terms of satisfying their requirements, and we call that the voice of the customer. Sometimes that voice comes through in words, sometimes it comes through in actions, but the customer is always trying to tell us something in some way. Our job is to find ways to listen to that voice. We're certainly interested in the voice of our current customers, but as we take our cure for the world and spread our gospel to others, we're also interested in the voice of potential customers who might benefit from our strategic position. We deliver value to our target customers through our operations. You might think of operations as buildings and equipment and technology, and certainly those things are included under the operations umbrella. But expand that thinking in terms of systems, or what we might label as key work systems. A guy by the name of Lee Cockrell was the executive vice president in charge of operations for Disney World for about a decade, and I had the pleasure of hearing Mr. Cockrell speak when he came to Tulsa a few years back. Disney World is often described as the most magical place on earth, but if you really think about Disney World, it's a massive place, almost a city unto its own. It has 4 or 5 theme parks, a transit system, several hotels and resorts, about 100 different places to eat, an entertainment district, a huge engineering and maintenance operation. There's a lot to it, and all those moving parts have to work together to produce magic for each individual guest of Disney World. As Lee describes, all of the magic you experience at Disney World can only happen because of processes. Lee says they have a process for everything, all orchestrated to work together, and they're constantly trying to make those processes and the harmony between those processes better. So truly, key work systems, or processes if you're more comfortable with that term, are simply the way the magic happens in your organization. It's the journey through your organization that bridges the gap between customer requirements and customer satisfaction. It's how value is created and delivered to your target customers. Because your key work systems are designed and managed to deliver value to your target customers, the decision about who is your customer, what is your target market, and what is your strategic position are so important. Because without a solid understanding of those elements, you risk designing and managing key work systems in such a way that they're not effective, meaning they're not meeting your customer requirements, or they're not efficient, meaning it costs you too much compared with the value you receive from your customer. There are certain things that you'll need to be really good at in order to deliver on your strategic position to your target market and preferred customers. Those are called core competencies. Some of these you may already be good at, while others are those that you know you need to be good at, but you're not quite there yet. Fortunately, or unfortunately, as the case may be, our operations can only be executed if we have a workforce. There are industries that lend themselves well to leveraging technology and equipment, such as robotics, to perform many aspects of their operations. But few, if any, have been able to eliminate the need completely for a human workforce. We need people, and let's face it, it wouldn't be as much fun doing what we're doing without all the great people in our organizations. However, as with customers, we don't just need any people. We need people with the right skills and behaviors, and we need the right amount of those people. We call those capabilities and capacity. So what are the right capabilities? Well, our culture and values determine some of the right behaviors, but our key work systems really determine the skills that we need in our workforce. We can hire folks with those capabilities, or we can develop those capabilities in our existing folks. But always remember that our needed capabilities depend primarily on our key work systems, which depend on our target customers, which depends on our strategic position, which depends on our primary mission-driven result. Well, you get the picture. In order to have the right core competencies in our operations, we often have to make sure that we have the right core competencies in our workforce, since it's our workforce that executes our key work systems. And finally, our job as leaders is to engage our workforce in our mission, in our vision, in our strategic position, so that we've got the maximum amount of human capital invested in those things that are most important to who we are as an organization. In whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish as an organization, there are boundaries. Some of these are imposed on us externally, such as laws and regulations, while some are self-imposed boundaries, such as values. So for example, we're interested in achieving our bottom line results, but only if we can have fun doing it. Or we want to achieve our bottom line results, but we won't do anything illegal or unethical to make that happen. Or we won't operate in an unsafe manner. Or we'll choose to contribute to our community or be good community citizens and stakeholders. All of those are boundaries for us as an organization. So far, so good? Now, when you look at this model, first of all, realize that all of these elements are in play in every organization that exists. It doesn't matter if it's a for-profit entity, a hospital, a school, a church, whatever it is, these things exist in every organization. Baldrige didn't make these up. They're just reflecting back the truth of what happens in every organization. Where Baldrige starts to put its spin on this is to ask you how purposeful, how systematic, and how integrated are you in doing all these things. Purposeful means that I'm doing it for a reason, preferably connected to my mission, vision, strategy, and target customer. Systematic means that what I do is repeatable and can be evaluated. Integrated means that all of these elements work together in harmony to achieve your strategy, your mission, and your vision. So let me pause right here. You know, in anything that we do, there are fundamentals. One of my favorite leaders of all time is Coach John Wooden. If you're not familiar with Coach Wooden, he coached the UCLA men's basketball teams in the 1960s and 70s, and he had a good bit of success. In fact, he won 10 national championships at UCLA, and I believe 7 of those were back-to-back championships. Coach Wooden was known for his emphasis of the fundamentals. In fact, he would recruit some of the most sought-after high school players in the nation, all of whom had experienced a great deal of success in their high school careers, and start their first day of practice showing them how he wanted them to put on their socks and lace up their shoes. He was all about the fundamentals. Now that might be a little extreme, although you can't argue with his results. But the point is that being brilliant at the basics is a key to success in any area of life. With Baldrige, we tend to make it seem very complicated. But believe me, if you were able to master these simple elements, again, simple isn't always easy, but if you could master these concepts, then you would be considered among the highest performing organizations in the nation. If as a leader, you can tell your organization's story in this way, connecting all the dots, then you're 80 to 90% of the way there in terms of engaging your workforce and evaluating investments and improvements that are going to give you the highest return. If as an applicant, you were able to tell this story in an application with a high degree of clarity, and it was a good story with great results, then you would have little trouble convincing examiners and judges of your organization's worthiness as a role model. If as an examiner, you could frame the applicant's story using this model, your understanding of the applicant would skyrocket and your feedback to the applicant would be extremely meaningful. So that still doesn't get us to performance excellence. To get there, we have to add in a couple of additional elements. First, Baldrige asks you to learn, or better yet, to be a learning organization. You learn as an organization both internally and externally. Internally, you learn by measuring and analyzing, which are two different things. You measure the right things, which we'll talk a little more about in just a few minutes, and you analyze the results that you're getting to give them meaning. Externally, you look at other organizations, both within your industry and from other industries, to find those organizations who are performing at levels better than you and who point you to opportunities for improvement in your own performance, as well as organizations who have new or better ways of doing things that are relevant to your organizational context. That's called benchmarking and best practices. Secondly, Baldrige asks you to improve, or to take the learning that you've acquired and to do something with it. Improvement can be small, consistent, incremental steps, or it can be a breakthrough in performance, which we would call innovation. A close cousin to innovation is intelligent risk-taking, because innovation usually requires stepping outside of your organizational comfort zone to try something that may be totally different than the way you've done it before. What is an intelligent risk? Well, I guess you don't know it's intelligent until you see the results, but it might involve basing your decision on some type of data and analysis, taking small calculated steps before going all in and betting the farm, and having evaluation factors in place to discontinue the initiative if it might jeopardize the organization. Which brings us back to results. Learning and improvement is done to produce results, all focused on your bottom line or your primary mission-driven results. You know you're effective at what you're doing when you can sustain results and even improve over time. and perhaps even see breakthrough performance from innovation and intelligent risk-taking. But remember that learning and improvement are centered around and focused on those elements in our performance management model. All those things we talked about before: our mission, our vision, our strategic position, our customer engagement, operations, workforce, etc. We don't arrive at our vision all at once. It typically occurs through a series of cycles of learning and improving, producing higher levels of results, and then more learning and improving, producing even better results. Jim Collins, author of Good to Great, calls this the flywheel, and I think that's a great picture to keep in mind. When you're just starting out, the effort seems so huge, but the more times around the flywheel you make, the easier it becomes, and the more significant the results you tend to achieve. Performance excellence is ultimately determined by results. While it's certainly important how you achieve those results, remember that you want to be purposeful, systematic, and integrated in your approaches. Without results, there is no performance in performance excellence. Organizations that achieve exceptional results, who also tend to have exceptional practices, are those that we point to as role models for the rest of us. So which results are the most important results? Well, first of all, there's your bottom line result, which is your primary mission-driven results. This typically comes from your customer's perspective or your investor's perspective, which may look different depending on your organization. And it's always good to have some type of market share indicator. If you truly do have a cure for the world, or at least your cure for your target market, you should be able to demonstrate your strategic position is attracting more of the right customers from your target market. The remaining results then are supporting results, because you have to perform at a certain level in these results in order to achieve your bottom line results. So to follow our model, we're first interested in results for our target customers, which should give us an indication of how well we're meeting their requirements and the degree to which our target customers are engaged with us as an organization. In the organizational profile, we typically spell out the requirements for our target customers, which isn't a bad thing to do even if you're not writing an application. We should see results that indicate how well we're satisfying those requirements, either lagging indicators from our customer's perspective or leading indicators from a work system or work process perspective. Likewise, we're going to engage our customers in relationship building activities of some kind. So we should see results that let us know how strong are those relationships, which could be in the form of our customers' words or, more importantly, in their actions. Our operations occur through key work systems, which is how we deliver value to our customers based on our strategic position. It's how the magic happens in our organization. We should see results of effectiveness and efficiency in these key work systems. Likewise, we need to build needed core competencies in our key work systems. So we should see results that let us know how strong are those core competencies. Our operations are executed by our workforce. So we should see results that let us know how we're doing in acquiring or building workforce capabilities and capacity, aligned with our key work systems, and how well we're doing in engaging our workforce in our mission, our vision, and our strategic position. And finally, remember that leadership is the lid on any organization. So we need to see results that let us know how effective our leadership is within our organization. And that includes building our culture, our governance system, and our organization's role as a citizen in its community. If you can achieve high levels of results in these areas, then you are worthy of being called a role model organization in the United States. So that's our Lunch and Learn today. Hopefully there's a couple of nuggets that you got out of that. Hopefully that starts to give you an understanding of the Baldrige criteria in really just common sense, simplistic terms. But remember, those are the fundamentals. If you can master those fundamentals, you've got the game licked. And so remember those elements, remember those fundamentals, and I think you'll do just wonderfully in this process. I want to share with you some upcoming learning opportunities we've got going on. Our March Lunch and Learn webinar, we're going to tackle these core competencies and key work systems. These seem to be couple of the more difficult areas of the criteria to deal with, and so we're going to try to wrestle with these a little bit, maybe boil them down to some common sense, simplistic terms. Our March 23rd workshop down in Oklahoma City, Susan Dragoo from Integris Hospital Health System is going to be doing that workshop for us, and going to be talking about measurements. Again, what are the right measures? What are the right results for you? Solving the mystery of measurement. That's going to be a really good one. We're excited that Susan's doing that for us. Our April webinar, we're going to tackle 3 other really difficult concepts in the criteria: learning, innovation, and intelligent risk taking. Again, try to boil those down to understandable common sense terms. The April 20th workshop down in Oklahoma City, we're going to take the webinar that we did today, and we're going to turn that into a workshop where we're going to drill down and expand on each one of those elements that we talked about, each one of those fundamentals, and we're going to make them relevant to your organization. So that's going to be one that you're going to want to make sure to attend. Haven't decided on the topic for the May webinar, but May 25th, going to do the 6 Disciplines for Excellence workshop again. We did this last year. We're going to put a little different spin on it this time. We're going to take the model that we shared with you today and talk about how those 6 disciplines really are the keys to operationalizing that model. So going to make sure that you join us for that one. We'd love to present this material or any of the content from our Lunch and Learns to your teams at your organization. So if you think that this is a relevant topic for your team and you'd like for us to come out over and present that, that's a free of charge thing. So just give me a call, drop me an email, and we'll do that. Also, if you're involved in an industry association that needs speakers at its meetings, keep us in mind for those opportunities. We'd love to get out and spread that gospel of excellence to the rest of Oklahoma, and doing that in those industry association meetings are a great way for us to connect to folks out there. So anyway, hope you enjoy your Wednesday. It's going to be a beautiful day out there in Oklahoma, so get out there and soak up some of that good sunshine, and I hope to see all of you sometime really soon. Thanks so much for joining us today.